Some people think marriage means they own everything their children own. My mother-in-law Eleanor learned the hard way that trying to claim my beach house and my entire private beach was a very expensive mistake. But to understand how everything exploded that fateful weekend, you need to know how it all began. I'm Olivia Morgan, 33 years old, and this is the story of how my mother-in-law's attempt to steal my beach house revealed not just her latest scheme, but decades of secrets she'd rather keep buried. Growing up in Crystal Cove, I spent every possible moment by the ocean. My father ran a small real estate agency specializing in beach properties, and I'd tag along on his showings, learning the business while falling in love with coastal living. He taught me that beachfront property wasn't just about luxury. It was about preserving something precious for future generations. Anyone can build a house, he'd say, watching the sunset over the water. But a true home grows from the land it's built on. Remember that, Olivia. I took those lessons to heart. After college, I worked for several major development firms, learning the industry inside and out. At 25, I started Morgan Sustainable Properties, focusing on eco-friendly luxury developments. My father's connections and my innovative approach to environmental preservation helped us grow rapidly. That's how I met Michael, my husband. He was presenting research on coral reef preservation at a coastal development conference where I was speaking about sustainable luxury housing. We bonded over our shared love of the ocean and vision for responsible development. Michael was everything I could want in a partner: brilliant, kind, passionate about his work. His family, however, was another story entirely. Eleanor Whitmore, my mother-in-law, came from old money, though the money had mostly dried up long before she married Michael's father. She maintained the appearance of wealth through careful social manipulation and living off her husband's corporate salary. When he died 10 years ago, she turned her attention to controlling Michael's life and career. Our first meeting was a disaster. She'd arranged a casual lunch at her country club, clearly hoping to intimidate me with her social connections. I arrived in business attire, having come straight from a development site. "Oh dear," she'd said, eyeing my practical shoes. "I suppose in your line of work, fashion isn't a priority." "Actually," I'd replied, "these shoes cost more than your club's monthly dues. They're just designed for function over appearance." That set the tone for our relationship. Eleanor saw me as nouveau riche, lacking the refinement she valued. I saw her as a social climber desperate to maintain her illusion of superiority. Despite her disapproval, Michael and I married in a beachside ceremony. Eleanor tried to push for a grand church wedding, but we held firm. It was the first of many battles over control and appearances. 2 years ago, I discovered the opportunity that would change everything. The Hendrickson property, 3 miles of pristine private beach with 5 historic homes, was coming on the market. The elderly owners were looking for a buyer who would preserve rather than develop the land. I'd known the Hendricksons my whole life. Mrs. Hendrickson used to let me play on their beach when I was little, teaching me about the native plants and wildlife. When I heard they were selling, I immediately set up a meeting. "We've had offers from major developers," Mr. Hendrickson told me. "They want to build a resort, condos, retail space. But this beach, it's special. We raised our children here. We've protected it for 40 years. "I understand," I said. "I want to preserve it too. Keep the existing houses, maintain the natural dunes, protect the wildlife. Maybe add some discreet rental properties for people who appreciate the quiet." Mrs. Hendrickson smiled. "Just like your father, seeing the value in preservation." We negotiated a fair price, $12 million for the entire property. It was a steal considering the development potential, but the Hendricksons cared more about their legacy than profit. I didn't tell Michael immediately. His mother had a habit of interfering in our financial decisions, always pushing for more extravagant purchases to maintain appearances. I wanted this to be handled carefully. When I finally showed him the property, he was amazed. The main house was a stunning modern structure built to blend with the landscape. Floor-to-ceiling windows brought the ocean view inside, while the wraparound deck offered perfect sunset watching. "It's incredible," he said. "But can we afford something like this?" I showed him the numbers. The purchase was already complete, financed through my company with plans to renovate the other houses as luxury vacation rentals. The income would more than cover the costs while funding marine conservation projects. "You did all this?" he asked, impressed. Without telling Mom? This is our future, I said. Not hers. We moved in a month later. The other houses needed work, but the main house was perfect. I set up my office overlooking the water, while Michael created a small research station to monitor the local marine life. That's when Eleanor's interference began. At first, she was thrilled. Finally, her son had a suitable home for entertaining. She started showing up unannounced with her social circle, treating our house like her private club. I tolerated it initially. The house was large enough that we could avoid her groups, and Michael was happy seeing his mother enjoying herself. But Eleanor kept pushing boundaries. She redecorated rooms without asking, replaced my carefully chosen sustainable furniture with gaudy antiques, and criticized everything from our choice of wine to the local wildlife. Seabirds are so common, she'd complain. Can't we do something about them? The protected species nesting on our beach were apparently beneath her standards. Then she started scheduling events without consulting us. Charity luncheons, garden club meetings, even wedding receptions for her friends' children. She'd simply announced that 50 people would be arriving on Saturday, expecting us to accommodate her plans. Mom, Michael finally protested, you need to ask before planning events here. Don't be silly, darling, she replied. This is a family home. I'm simply helping you use it properly. That should have been our warning sign. Eleanor didn't see our home as our property. In her mind, anything belonging to her son belonged to her. I installed a comprehensive security system, originally intended to monitor the protected wildlife areas and ensure the safety of our rental properties. Every entrance was covered, every room secured. Eleanor complained about the cameras, but I insisted they were necessary for insurance purposes. The system proved its worth sooner than expected. We started noticing small items missing after Eleanor's visits: jewelry, artwork, small antiques. When confronted, she'd claim ignorance or suggest we were misremembering. Then larger things began disappearing. A valuable painting from the guest house. A set of first edition books from the library. My grandmother's silver service. I checked the security footage but kept my discoveries private. Eleanor was getting sloppy, confident in her ability to talk her way out of any situation. The footage showed her methodically going through our possessions when she thought no one was watching. Sometimes she'd pocket small items directly. Other times, she'd let her art dealer friend examine pieces, which would then vanish days later. But the real shock came when I discovered her gambling. The pool house cameras caught her hosting high-stakes card games, losing thousands she didn't have. She was stealing from us to pay her debts. I shared the evidence with Michael. He was devastated but not entirely surprised. She did this after Dad died too, he admitted. Took things from the house, claimed they were family heirlooms she was redistributing. I never proved anything. We were discussing how to handle the situation when everything came to a head. I returned early from a business trip to find Eleanor hosting her largest party yet. Cars lined our private drive. People spilled onto the protected dunes, and music blasted across the beach, disturbing the wildlife we worked so hard to protect. Eleanor was holding court on our deck, drink in hand, playing the grand dame of the estate. Oh, darling, she trilled when she saw me. I'm just showing the ladies from the club our family's summer estate. Did you know the Hendersons are interested in buying one of the guest houses? I told them we could work something out. You're trying to sell property you don't own? I kept my voice level, but inside I was seething. Don't be difficult, dear. This is family property now. And as the family matriarch, I have every right to. Get out. I cut her off, my patience finally snapped. Eleanor drew herself up to her full height. Excuse me. I said get out. All of you. This party is over. How dare you? Eleanor's face turned red. This beach house belongs to the whole family, she screamed, causing several of her guests to stop and stare. That's when I noticed the sapphire necklace. I'd seen it in our security footage, Eleanor stealing it from our safe last weekend. But I'd seen it somewhere else too. I pulled out my phone and opened a different folder, photographs from police reports of recent thefts from other luxury homes in the area. There was the necklace, listed as stolen from Eleanor's own sister during a family visit. Eleanor, I said quietly, before you continue screaming about family property, you might want to explain what you were doing in our master bedroom last Saturday when we were away. The color drained from her face. Or perhaps you'd like to explain to your friends how you've been borrowing items from our house to sell to private collectors. That sapphire necklace you're wearing, for instance. Isn't that the one you stole from your sister last month? I was just stealing from your family to fund your gambling habit? Just selling stolen property to pay your debts. Several of Eleanor's society friends gasped. The Hendersons, who'd apparently been seriously negotiating to buy property Eleanor had no right to sell, started edging toward the door. Actually, I continued, my voice carrying across the now silent room, I own this entire beach. Not just this house, the whole 3-mile stretch, all 5 houses, and every grain of sand you're standing on. And I have security footage of everything that happens here. I held up my phone, showing the clear video of Eleanor entering our bedroom, opening our safe with a copied key, and helping herself to my jewelry. Would anyone like to see what else I have on camera? The card games in the pool house where Eleanor lost thousands she didn't have? The meetings with that questionable art dealer who's been helping her fence stolen items? Or perhaps her discussion with the Hendersons about selling property she doesn't own. You wouldn't dare, Eleanor hissed. Michael would never allow. I'm right here, Mom. Michael's voice came from behind her. He'd arrived home during her tirade. And I've seen all the footage. Eleanor's perfectly manicured hand flew to her throat, clutching the stolen necklace. Michael, darling, I can explain. Save it, he cut her off. The police are already on their way. They're very interested in solving a string of recent thefts from luxury beach homes in the area. The party dissolved in chaos. Eleanor's society friends couldn't get to their cars fast enough, leaving half-full champagne glasses and scandalized whispers in their wake. When the police arrived, Eleanor tried to play it off as a misunderstanding. But the evidence was overwhelming. Not just our security footage, but documentation of her gambling debts, correspondence with illegal art dealers, and statements from other victims who recognized their stolen items from our footage. You've ruined me, she spat as the officers led her away. My own son and his social climbing wife. No, Eleanor, I corrected her. You ruined yourself. We just installed good security cameras. The aftermath was both satisfying and sad. Eleanor was charged with multiple counts of theft and fraud. Most of her society friends abandoned her, especially when they realized some of their missing items had passed through her hands. The investigation revealed decades of similar behavior, stealing from family and friends, selling heirlooms to cover gambling debts, manipulating others to maintain her facade of wealth. She'd been doing it since before Michael's father died. Michael was devastated but resolute. She needs help, he said. Real help this time, not just bailouts and cover-ups. We arranged for Eleanor to get counseling for her gambling addiction as part of her plea deal. She's facing significant jail time, but there's hope that she'll finally address her underlying issues. The beach houses are thriving now. We've upgraded security and become much more selective about guests. The rental properties are popular with families who appreciate the quiet, natural setting. Michael has expanded his marine research station, documenting the positive effects of our conservation efforts. We've seen increased nesting of endangered sea turtles and the return of several bird species to the protected dunes. Last week, Eleanor's sister came to visit, the one whose necklace she'd stolen. We spent a long afternoon talking about family, forgiveness, and the weight of secrets. She was always like this, her sister admitted. Always taking, always wanting more. But we enabled it, covered it up, let her get away with it because confronting her seemed harder than letting her continue. I walk the beach every evening, watching the sunset just like I did with my father years ago. Sometimes I think about Eleanor sitting in her cell, probably still convinced she was entitled to take whatever she wanted. The security cameras are still running, still protecting our piece of paradise. But now they're capturing happier moments. Genuine family gatherings, children playing in the surf, researchers documenting the return of endangered species. That's the thing about karma. Sometimes it needs a little help from modern technology. And sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about creating something so beautiful that those who tried to steal it have to watch from the outside, knowing what they lost through their own greed. The Hendersons sent an apology note last month, along with a generous donation to our Marine Conservation Fund. Turns out conscience occasionally wins over social climbing. Michael visits his mother in prison occasionally. She's different now, quieter, less demanding. Maybe losing everything finally taught her that you can't take what isn't yours, no matter how entitled you feel. Our beach house is truly a family home now, just not the way Eleanor envisioned. It's filled with people who respect its beauty, protect its environment, and understand that true wealth isn't about possession or control. Sometimes the best way to deal with toxic family members is to let them reveal themselves. Eleanor thought she was entitled to everything we had. Instead, she lost everything she had trying to take what was never hers. I've kept all the security footage, not as leverage, but as a reminder. A reminder that sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one you should watch out for, and that karma has a way of catching up, especially when you help it along with good security cameras.